Anytime a narcissistic person or a toxic person that you've been dealing with blocks you, ignores you, discards you, it can feel very uncomfortable. And if you're not careful, you can be tempted to take it as disrespect, which can keep you engaged in the toxic relationship. But I'm here to share with you right now that a narcissistic person discarding you and blocking you is the best possible outcome for you. As a matter of fact, it's a blessing that you do not want to mess up. Let's talk. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before I do continue, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, the Royal We private membership is available for you, where you can get daily support by me and a growing community of people all over the world. I've included a workout program for you to help you get back into shape coming out of narcissistic abuse. There's fellowship, where we open up the Bible and see what the Word of God has to say about narcissistic abuse, and so much more, all within the privacy of a members-only app. So head on down to the description box and check out the Royal We private membership. Everything you need to know is down in the description box. Now, let's get into this topic of why narcissistic people discarding you and ignoring you is a blessing in your life. The reason this is the best possible outcome is because when a narcissistic person finally discards you, when they block you, when they are ignoring you, it's not a sign of disrespect. It's actually an indication that you've stepped into your power. You're too strong for them. Essentially, they gain nothing from you. You've broken free of their control. And as a consequence of breaking free of their control, they've given up. It's almost as if a wild animal is a predator, if you will, is chasing its prey, but the prey outruns it. It's no longer worth it for that predator. So they stop. Nothing reveals the truth about your power and the narcissist's intentions more clearly than when the narcissist decides to block you, to discard you, to ignore you, and to move on with their life. It is an absolute indication of your power over the situation where they no longer have any control. As a coach over the past decade, I see people falling into one of two categories of situations dealing with narcissistic people. On one hand, I deal with people who cannot break free from the toxic relationship. They're dealing with a narcissistic person that will not leave them alone, constantly blowing up their phone with telephone calls, driving by their house, showing up late at night, knocking on their door, sending friends and family members and relatives to harass and to bother, all for the purpose of threatening their victim, to keep the victim under control. Many of you are dealing with this and you don't quite know how to get them to stop. And by the way, this is why I take coaching calls, so I can help you to get this to stop. A lot of this has to do with your reaction. In fact, I just had a client not too long ago who is living in this place of fear. She desperately wanted to get out of the toxic relationship, but this narcissistic person is constantly harassing and threatening her, telling her that she can't go anywhere, and if she does, he's going to make her life a living hell. Word for word, this is what narcissistic people can say. If you leave me, or if you try to block me, or if you try to move on, I will make your life hell. Narcissistic people are capable of saying this in a very threatening way, and despite it most of the time just being a bunch of nonsense and fluff, and their just attempt to remain in control and in power, the reality is it can be very terrifying. So this is one situation. But what's interesting is I've come across other situations with clients. Clients I've dealt with have felt so disrespected by the fact the narcissistic person has left. And the threat in this is that it can keep you in this place of engaging with them. And you can start reaching out to them, which is not what you want to do. You want to accept the blessing that they're gone. It's your free pass. It's a free pass out of the relationship. It's your ticket to freedom. But I want to share with you a little bit about why it can be difficult when the narcissistic person finally gives up and leaves the situation and blocks you, discards you, and goes silent and moves on with their life. I want to talk about why it's so difficult and why it hurts. This gets into the science of narcissistic abuse and what it does to you biochemically. Oftentimes in a very difficult, toxic relationship, whether it's with family members or an ex or a partner or a friendship, all of the trauma, all of the turmoil, all the ups and downs, the relationships, it really does trigger all kinds of funky biochemistry. We're talking adrenaline, cortisol. Your levels get spiked like crazy, and you can become used to that. It starts to feed your own body biochemically. And when a narcissistic person finally discards and withdraws and leaves the situation and ignores you and blocks you, it can create a vacuum in your life. It can suddenly take this thing away that's causing all of your biochemistry to go crazy. It's really no different than, for example, a smoker who suddenly stops smoking cold turkey. Oftentimes, this can create a vacuum, a withdrawal symptoms of craving, of wanting, right? Whether you're trying to get rid of smoking or somebody's trying to get rid of drinking, when you do it suddenly, it creates a vacuum. There's an emptiness. The emptiness is no more than your biochemistry wanting more of that trauma. It's difficult to say, but you have to watch this. If you're not careful, you can find yourself struggling with the addiction to that drama biochemically. Now, the way to beat this, by the way, is something that I work really hard with, especially with people in the private membership. So check out the Rowie private membership, but also during one-on-one coaching calls. And that comes down to your coping strategies. Your coping strategies coming out of a toxic relationship are the most important thing. We're not talking about eating ice cream and chips and drinking and smoking. That's not coping strategies, all right? Those are self-soothing strategies. Coping strategies have to challenge you. And the reason is, what nobody tells you about coping strategies is coping strategies has to replace that vacuum in your life. Coping strategies are designed and meant to challenge you to replace the biochemistry. So, for example, in my own life, my coping strategies when the narcissistic people stopped interacting with me and went cold and went silent and ignored me and started blocking me, I felt the pull to want to go back and engage with them, right? Because I felt that vacuum in my life. But what I discovered is that by doing things in my life that were challenging, things like working out and committing to the workout program, getting a motorcycle and riding my motorcycle, these things are challenging me to grow. Not only are they challenging me to grow, but they're exciting my biochemistry, oftentimes in ways the narcissistic person never could. Now, make no mistake about it, the biochemistry in your life that gets triggered by narcissistic abuse is very difficult to contend with. Again, we're talking about high amounts of cortisol, high amounts of adrenaline, high amounts of epinephrine that get pumped throughout your body because of the abuse that you've experienced. These things, when they go cold turkey on you, when they leave you, when they ignore you, when they block you, these things no longer being triggered in you creates that vacuum. It's very difficult, right? This is why a lot of people ruminate. The reason for rumination coming out of a toxic relationship is because even the ruminating, the thinking, the replaying of the toxic situations oftentimes is enough to trigger your own biochemistry, okay? So it's a very strong pull in your life. You do not want to downplay the role of your own biochemistry when it comes to dealing with toxic relationships. Your coping strategies is the only thing that's really going to battle this. Again, not eating ice cream, not sitting eating potato chips, that does nothing for you. That's not a coping strategy. It's not going to help you. It's only going to make you feel worse. And you're still, even after you do all that stuff, you're still going to want the narcissistic person back in your life. Okay? You've got to work on challenging your body, really getting it into gear, bringing things into your life that are going to challenge your biochemistry. That's what coping strategies are all about. When you start to do this, you're going to see just how much of a blessing it is that the narcissistic person blocked you, just how much of a blessing it is that they've left you, because the threat of their demeaning, devaluing, abusive nature is no longer part of your life. You're free of that. The narcissistic person has moved on. They're now a threat to somebody else's life. Say a prayer for that person. You know what I'm saying? But as far as you're concerned, it's the best possible thing. It is your ticket to freedom. This is your opportunity to be like, oh, I escaped the clutches of the narcissistic person. They've left me alone. They're gone. They've discarded me. Thank God. It is a blessing that you no longer have to live under that threat. but you've got to fill your life with good, healthy coping strategies that are going to help you to now grow and help you to regain control over your biochemistry. At the end of the day, when a narcissistic person discards you, when they go silent on you, when they leave you, when they block you, it is not a sign of disrespect. It's actually a sign of respect. It's respect for the fact that they can no longer get what they want from you. It's respect in the way of it finally shows your power in the situation. You've become too powerful for them to get what they want from you. That's a sign of respect. If you really think about it, it's respect towards your strength. You need to accept it as respect towards your strength. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, yes, they can no longer use me. I no longer am just giving myself freely and overgiving and bending over backwards and enduring their abuse. I'm free. I've outrun them. And by the time you get to this point, you realize that the narcissistic abuse that you've experienced in your life was that exercise to get you to this place of your optimum strength and resilience and your ability to say no more and your ability to stop giving in to abusive personalities that surround you in this life. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Once you experience narcissistic abuse, you never will again, especially when you heal and you process and you understand what's really taking place, because you will never again lend your biochemistry to another person. You will never again allow them to control you and to manipulate you. You'll smell that stuff a mile away. Not only that, but it won't even excite your biochemistry, because through proper coping strategies, things that you're engaged with all the time, things that really excite you in life, through doing these things on a daily basis, you won't need a narcissistic person and their drama to bring any excitement into your life. Your life is going to have all the excitement it needs. And listen, if you're struggling right now with bringing excitement into your life, with managing excitement in your life, this is what I'm here to do. This is a part of what I do as a coach, is to help you to identify this excitement in your life so that you can regain control of your biochemistry so you don't need narcissistically abusive people. One of the philosophies that I've developed from coaching over the past decade is that oftentimes narcissistic abuse is the result of you becoming bored. You could become successful, you can have a great career, you can have all kinds of money, you could even have lots of hobbies and interests, but at the end of the day, if you stop challenging yourself in any way, shape, or form, and you stop growing, suddenly narcissistic people seem to present a certain amount of excitement that make it difficult for you to pass up. But the goal in working with you is to never allow another person to bring in excitement that you're lacking. Your personal life should carry all the excitement that you need. What you should really be looking for in any relationship is not somebody to bring excitement because you don't have it. You should be looking for an equally yoked partner. Somebody that you can share your excitement with, nothing more. The moment you find yourself in a relationship where you're drawn to their excitement or the excitement of them, you're in trouble, right? But needless to say, or I diverted the conversation there, the reality is when a narcissistic person is blocking you, when they're leaving you alone, at the end of the day, this is an absolute blessing. It's your ticket to freedom. It's absolutely everything you need to completely start over. And if you're struggling with this again, head on down there, reach out to me. Let's talk about it. I can help you to really understand how to apply this idea and this concept into your life. Now, I know that this is a difficult message for a lot of you, especially some of you right now who are experiencing those symptoms of withdrawal because of a narcissistic person who has suddenly left you. But I want to help you right now in this moment. So head on down there, schedule that time with me. As I said before, I do take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp, and you don't want to miss out on the Royal We private membership opportunity. So head on down there and get started with that. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, because that's how this message gets shared. Hit the like button and the bell notification so you don't miss any future Royal We content. And check out one of these videos recommended by the YouTube algorithm, because it knows what you've been watching, and these videos are going to help you out. I'll be back with more right here on the Royal We.